show, I'm joined by Aron Welsh, dealer principal of Pacific Nations Auto Sales in Campbell River, British Columbia, part of the Steve Marshall Group. Aron brings a ton of insight into building a dealership brand that truly connects with local community, and they're probably one of the best at it. We dive into the unique dynamics of a used car market, the power of authenticity in business, and Aron's personal journey in leadership and development. This one's packed with value, so let's get into it. Well, hey, listen, Aron, let's just jump into it for the listeners. Who are you? I know you're part of the Steve Marshall Group. Share a little more about that and about you yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan. So my name's Aron Welsh. I am the dealer principal, co-owner of Pacific Nations Auto Sales and Finance. We're located in Campbell River, BC on Vancouver Island, and we've been open since May of 2017. And my partner, Carl, he's the CEO of the Steve Marshall Group, which is a group that's been growing pretty rapidly over the last few years. I think there's 13 or 14 dealerships in the group now. And yeah, I've got a long history with Steve Marshall Ford. That's where I started my career. So it's a great partnership.
I love it. Yeah, one thing that I've noticed, like the Steve Marshall Group, I mean, you guys have a very unique set of people and are just very genuine. Like every GM I've spoke to, every team member, you got this like unique culture across the whole group that carries into your stores. So it's really nice to see. Yeah,
I think that probably stems from Carl. Like Carl's a really down-to-earth guy and really approachable and just a natural person to speak to. So I think if you're talking to leaders across the whole group, it's probably got to stem from, I would say, Carl. And Steve Davidson's the COO, I believe his title is, and he's another great guy. So that kind of just trickles down and everybody feels comfortable to be themselves. And it's all I've ever known. Like I said, I started working for Carl when I was 20 years old, and he's been one of my best friends and my mentor since then. And our group of friends that we had back at Steve Marshall Ford back in the old days, we used to just hang out all week. We'd work together all day long, and then in the evenings we'd get together and go to Moxie's for dinner or go play poker. So much so that people around town were like, "Don't you guys ever get sick of each other? Like you hang with your
Everybody's wives are hanging out."
Yeah, but it was great. Like it was, it felt like a family. And that's really what attracted me to it and kept me sort of in it in those early years. And, a lot of those guys from those early days are still with Carl in different roles. Myself and Carl are business partners now. A lot of our other really good friends from that era are as business partners as well. So it's kind of cool to have that core group of friends, I think, still in this together.
Definitely. Yeah, not everybody can say that. You said 20 years old. You started at Steve Marshall Ford. Is that correct? Maybe take us back into how that opportunity came to you and what your vision was from when you started in the industry to where you are now. If you've always had this vision of running and owning a store, walk us through that.
Yeah, so I was home for the summer break from university. I was going to university in Nanaimo at Vancouver Island University, studying biology. I was in my second year, and during the summers I would come back to Campbell River, and I was a lifeguard during the summers. In this particular year, the pool had closed down for some maintenance, so they weren't going to be opening until like late August, and I was hoping to make some money. And so I sort of started just doing random things. I did construction for a little while. Ended up getting like a really bad staph infection on my leg and was out of work for about 3 weeks. And they kind of moved on and hired somebody new. And then I ended up working at a little gas station. And at the time, my mom's boyfriend, he worked for Carl. And he was running a used car dealership sort of right behind Steve Marshall Ford. And he was looking for a salesman. So my mom was like, "Why don't you go down and talk to Jens, and he'll probably get you a job as a salesman down there." And I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." Like I have never considered being a car salesman. That was nowhere on my radar, but I'll give it a shot. Why not? I'd kind of been like questioning my idea of following the biology path up to this point anyways. I was starting to look into like some business courses and real estate. So car sales sort of seemed like, okay, it's sales, so I'll give it a shot. So went down there and talked to Jens, and he gave me a training link to go home and watch Joe Verde. And he's like, "If you can finish like 10 chapters or something over the weekend, I'll hire you." And I was like, okay. So I went and I pretty much finished the whole Joe Verde online course over the weekend. And he was like, "Oh, that's fantastic, man. I can usually get guys to watch like maybe one video a week, and you completed the whole thing. So come on board." So I did, and yeah, the first month I think I made something like 5 grand, which was just amazing money to me. I was like, "Holy, oh, this is incredible! I'm making huge money here." And yeah, I think I started there. I think it was June of 2006. And by the time mid-August came, I was supposed to be picking my new courses, and I was just like, no, I think I'm going to throw in the towel on university. I'm gonna commit to car sales. So it literally took about a month and a half to realize that this was the career path that I wanted to follow. And at the time, Jens and I worked together in a little place. It was called Automax Superstore. It was me, Jens. He was our sales manager. He ran that store, and one other guy named Jeff. So there was only 3 of us. It was a small lot. We had like 20 cars there. Funny enough, when I opened Pacific Nations, we actually went into that building, and that was where Pacific Nations started as well. So
Oh, wow. Cool.
yeah, it was the start of my career in auto sales, and then also the start of Pacific Nations, which was kind of interesting and cool to return back to that office that I had previously worked in. It was pretty neat. So, but yeah, getting to work back there, we were, like I say, we were still part of Steve Marshall Ford. So, I was getting to meet Carl, all the other really good friends that I had made there over the years. And yeah, it was just a great introduction because as a dealership and as a group, Steve Marshall's always sort of been a group because he's had 3 or 4 dealerships since I started. And it was just, I really instantly thought, hey, these guys know what they're doing. I'm a young guy that thinks I know everything, but I feel like I can look up to these guys and probably absorb a lot from them. So it was a great first place to land, and not a career I thought I was going to get into, but once I was there, it felt like the perfect fit. So.
That last sentence there, I've done a lot of these interviews now, a lot that haven't uploaded yet, and obviously talked to a lot of GMs with the marketing side of things, and so have you. And the one thing that sticks out to me of almost everybody in the automotive industry is that they didn't have plans to be in the automotive industry, and they just got sucked in, right? They're like, I don't want to sell cars, and then they're into it. So that's really interesting to me.
It really is, and it's not a career path that you hear about in high school. And it's not a career path you ever really hear about, but it's a great career path. And just talking about it, it's like we should approach the high schools and let people know, like, this is something you don't really need to go to university for. If you're kind of that outgoing person, and you want to give something a shot, like this could be the industry for you. You got to get a $600 VSA license, and it's all in-house training. And really, you just got to be good at connecting with people. You got to kind of have a good heart, and you got to be somewhat organized. And you can find lots of success in the car business. So it's not surprising that I think a lot of guys have that same story because, I'm the same. Usually guys are either born into it, like their parents were dealers, or they just stumbled upon it. We always hear lots of stories of like GMs or sales managers meeting people at restaurants and convincing them to join the auto sales business. So yeah, it's not surprising.
Yeah, the high school, that's interesting. I wish somebody had told me about automotive career options because it's so dynamic. I mean, whether you're working at an independent or a franchise, there's so many different departments and things to do, different skill sets. So I think, yeah, a gentleman that I was interviewing recently was talking about taking that approach in the high schools and going in and educating them on the service, on the sales side, on the finance, accounting. I mean, the opportunities are endless. So.
Yeah, and especially now there's a shortage with a lot of different people in the workforce. Mechanics comes to mind. So it seems like something that you got to sort of recruit people almost from high school and maybe, offer to help them through college and get them on some sort of internship or something to, keep local people and guide them down a career path that will be great for them, but also useful for the community.
Absolutely. So Pacific Nations, you are very, very interesting business, and it's branded and catered. It's in the name, the First Nations, Indigenous communities. You're probably the strongest branded independent dealership that I've seen, and you know your audience so well. Explain a little bit how you cater to them, how you work with them. Obviously, it's not just your audience, but yeah, it's unique.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I sort of have the same thoughts, and we put a lot of effort into pushing our brand and promoting our brand and trying to have a consistent brand message, and really focusing in on our target audience, which is simply people that are familiar with our brand, and people that know people who have purchased from us. And already sort of have that trust built in. And so our whole game plan is really just to give people the best possible service, that real true 5-star service experience when they're buying a car, which sounds like it would be obvious, but there's a lot of dealerships out there that don't take that approach. A lot of dealerships with high turnover rates and just not full transparency, I would say. That's probably the biggest compliment we receive from customers, is they say, we know you guys, we see you on Facebook all the time, we know all your employees, and we feel like we can trust you guys. And then during the buying process, people are always really appreciative when you're just upfront and transparent about the purchase of their vehicle, because there's a lot to it. So those are some of the things that we do to just really make sure our customers are getting a good experience that they can trust. And then from there, we're always networking to their friends and family, trying to grow our customer base organically. And we do that through social media for the most part. So, we befriend people on social media. If they buy a car, we try to add a bunch of their friends and family. And over the years, we probably have an audience of about 20,000 people across the island in the Lower Mainland that know us really well, that really, really trust our brand. And then, of course, I think, like you've said, like people outside of our customer database even recognize our brand at this point. And it's been a pretty good business model, I've found. It's we haven't historically spent a lot on advertising because it's all just organic prospecting. And I find that that's something that you can really just rely on through all of the tough times we've had over the last 5 years. You can always rely on your own work ethic to kind of get you through those tough times.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is when we first met, we talked a lot about your team members having their own Facebook accounts and pages. It's not just the pages where they post content and deals and stuff. They actually have their own pages where they add people and connect.
Yeah.
And we work with a lot of dealerships that will, or have in the past anyways, they've changed their tune, thank God, but their whole approach to the social and marketing side was sales team members cannot have their own pages because they felt like it took away from the brand. And it was just so backwards thinking in my mind. And thankfully they've changed their tune, and all their sales team, has their own accounts and they're adding people. But you guys are very, very involved and execute very well on that.
Yeah, and I see sort of where they're coming from on that. And I think that's an old school thing. Like, when I was young, I was doing subprime and I wanted to get a billboard with my name and my face on it. And, the managers were kind of like, well, no, why don't we put the Steve Marshall brand on there and the Steve Marshall phone number? So it stems back, like they don't want you branding yourself in the olden days. But I think with social media, that has really changed, and you really have to embrace that and empower people. And that's actually what I tell people when they're getting hired. We tell them, like, we want you to build your own brand under our brand. We want you to share your personality and the moments of your life with your audience so that people are connecting to you. Because nowadays people want to connect to a human being that they know. Social media is just so full of ads everywhere. A million different spins, even on Pacific Nations, I see a million different spins on our brand, going after that same client base. But where we have the advantage is we have those personal accounts and we share the moments of our lives with people, and we're truly just building rapport and building relationships with as many people as we can. And I think that really makes us stand out. So we're pretty fortunate that over the last 8 years we've got to meet so many amazing clients, and that they've allowed us into their lives, and we like to share our lives with them as well.
Yeah. And your roots of the business and how you've set it up, you're so intertwined with community. I know every dealership, or most of them anyways, are very involved in community. It's a backbone, hockey teams. I mean, who are they going to ask for sponsorships first? It's always the car dealers. But you guys are just so uniquely positioned and intertwined with community at just a deep root level, which is cool.
Yeah, it really is deep. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people that I've met through car sales that I really feel like I know, like they're my extended family. And it just makes offering that 5-star service so easy, because you're never going to leave someone hanging when you feel like you know them that well. So I get people calling me and texting me 24 hours a day, And even to this day, I'll do my best. If somebody's in a tough position, I'll go out and try to help them. It's been about a year, but about a year ago, we had a customer breakdown in Nanaimo. She called me at like midnight, and me and one of our sales guys drove down there and brought her a loaner vehicle and helped her get a tow. And so we're really going above and beyond to help our clients after the sale. And that's really, I think, what has given us such a good reputation is people know that we're there and they can count on us. And some of the experiences they share that they haven't liked is that, they buy a vehicle maybe on the mainland from an unknown dealer. They just clicked on an ad and now they're having a problem with their car and they've called 10 times and no one's picking up their phone. And, we hear that so often that it really just reinforces what we do is really, really important to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after sale care is oftentimes overlooked, but that's probably the most important because after that sale and that experience goes well, they're coming back for the service, the oil changes 6, 12 times before they get a new vehicle or you show them a new opportunity and an appraisal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other ways that you guys go above and beyond for your customers? Something maybe that's a little more unique for you guys?
Well, we always try to stay, like you were mentioning with the sports sponsorships, we try to stay connected to the communities that way as well. So we sponsor a lot of like individual athletes. This week we just sponsored 2 individual athletes. One was a basketball player from Howsett, and one was a hockey player from Alert Bay. So we're always trying to give back, even though they may be small sponsorships. We try to do a lot of them so that we're helping as many people as possible. And when we can contribute $250 to an individual athlete, it may be a small amount, but it means a lot to them. It can help them get to that next tournament or whatever it might be. And then we're always out in the communities because most of our business is online. And we're always interacting on Facebook. When we sell a car, we're typically delivering it out of town. So we're always kind of traveling back into the communities where we get to meet people face to face and just kind of continue to build those bonds.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, that you said that sponsorship may be small, but helps them get to the next tournament. I think it also, at a deeper level, does something much more important and gives them a sense of belief and value of what they're doing. So that's really cool. What times in your life or life lessons have you taken into the automotive industry that has, improved the impact that you've been able to make in your own life or others? Maybe it's a leadership style that's changed. Is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, over the last couple of years, I think I've really grown as far as a leader goes. Historically, I've always been the kind of guy that just wants to get things done myself. I know I can count to myself to get the job done correctly, but when you're just relying on yourself, you can only do so much as one person. So over the last couple of years, I've really focused on letting that go and letting go of that control and hiring talented people that I can put my trust in and then just letting them do their job. And surprisingly enough, I'm not the best at everything. There's lots of people that are better at me at almost everything. And when you just hire good people and trust them to do those jobs, they end up doing a better job than I could have done anyways. So my job now is to sort of oversee the business and make sure that as far as my overall vision of giving people a really good service level goes and making sure we're taking care of people and providing good quality vehicles, that we're following all of that. But when it comes down to like an individual deal basis or individual accounting processes, I let our people do what they do and take care of that. And that's, again, sounds like something easy, but for me, that was a tough transition. But now that I've made it, it's been great.
Yeah. Well, when we first met, like 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, I noticed the change actually. I was recently reflecting on that, like your ability to delegate and let go, like improved so much. I mean, I don't analyze everybody that we work with, but it stood out to me, and I'm not just saying that. What was the hard part for you? Was it just like thinking that maybe things are going to be done wrong and a customer might be unhappy? Like, what was it for you, and how did you get over that?
When we have such a young brand, and for the first couple of years, It really just felt like my baby. Like it was like I'm building this from nothing. Um, Most people that are buying from us, they're buying from Pacific Nations, but I had previously built my brand of Aron Welsh under Steve Marshall Ford, and so when I opened Pacific Nations, all these people were still buying from me. And over time, they now trust Pacific Nations as a brand rather than just trusting me. So, like I say, my job now is to really make sure that Pacific Nations is keeping that trust and treating people the right way. And in the early years, I just really wanted to make sure that we weren't getting a bad name out there, which is so easy to do in the car business. Um, and sure enough, when we bring people on and trust them, everyone is willing to commit to that 5-star sales process. Most people want to go home at the end of the day feeling like, hey, I've done a good job. I've treated people fairly. I've done the honest thing. Um, you just have to reinforce that that's our values at this dealership, and people will adhere to that.
Yeah, like being a GM, you're trying to learn the skill set of working through others, so that they can have that 5-star experience, but your hands aren't actually in that deal. So it's got to be interesting.
It is for sure, and like I say, it's just you got to trust your people, and our entire staff, they're all so committed to that 5-star service experience that I've got complete trust in them, and every day we get new 5-star reviews rolling in. So it's just something that always reinforces that trust that I have.
Yeah, I love that. Let's get a little deeper. What keeps you up at night, Aaron, in the automotive world or
Um,
leadership?
yeah, I mean, what keeps me up at night is just my task list. There's always things that need to be done, and I try to get them as much as I can get done in a day. But when there's bigger projects that maybe span months or years, I'm just the kind of guy that I like to get things done really quickly. And some of these really big projects just take a lot more time, and you can't get them done that fast. And so, I'm a relatively young guy, like I'm 39 years old. I've still got a lot of growth to happen in my career and in this business. And I'm still facing a lot of really unknowns. So, I would say more than anything, it's the unknowns that keep me up at night. Um, and, that can be in our future business endeavors, but it can also just be with the world. I mean, over the last 5 years, we've faced countless unknowns and uncertainty. And I would say overall, those have been what keeps me up at night.
That's a valid answer, and I think you know where we're about to take this. But with the tariffs, the U.S. and Canadian tariffs, how are you seeing that this is going to impact your business? Limit exports to the U.S., whatnot, used car prices. What are you bracing for, predicting, and planning to do?
Yeah, it's just so hard. Like what I'm feeling and what I think I'm hearing from most people is that they're uncertain. They don't know. Is it going to create a vehicle shortage? Are vehicles going to start getting sent down to the States more? Like used vehicles, I mean. Um, or are vehicle prices going to go up here? Um, it's really hard to say. So, I mean, what we're currently doing live is we've kind of stocked up our inventory, just in case there's a vehicle shortage heading into the summer, which over the last 3 years there already has been vehicle shortages. So, if there was a big influx of vehicles going down to the States to take advantage of their dollar, we could see a massive shortage of vehicles here. A shortage of used vehicles. Obviously, we only sell used vehicles. That makes it tough to do our business. Um, but we've faced, like I say, so much uncertainty over the last 5 years that we're kind of used to that. And we've kind of spent the last 2 years just cleaning up our business and making it lean, so that when there are tough times or unexpected times, the business is healthy enough and strong enough to make its way through those. We started 2020, so almost 5 years ago. Yeah, almost exactly 5 years ago with COVID starting.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the shutdowns and lockdowns. And I remember when that happened, I was like, what is going on? Like, is the world ending? Um, the majority of our staff at that time decided that they were going to stay home and do their part. Um, I obviously couldn't do that. I had to keep coming to the office. So it was me and one other guy, and we basically locked the dealership, and we just continued to work online like we do. And we did that for almost 3 months, and it was a really unique time, obviously, but it was a time I look back on with pretty good memories working side by side with that guy in sort of a really unpredictable world. And then, as that changed, then we started facing, the vaccine mandates and all that sort of stuff. And there was a lot of uncertainty there. People were sort of not sure if they were going to get that vaccine, and then there was uncertainty if they would be allowed to work. So again, it was more uncertainty around staffing. And then during that time, there was also a big shortage of workers. So it was tough to find people to actually hire during that time. And then there was that chip shortage and new vehicle shortage, which led to a skyrocketing value in used vehicles, which for a used dealership wasn't ideal because it just meant the vehicle prices were getting really, really high for us, which meant payments were getting higher for customers. So it made our job a little bit tougher during that time. And then following that, once the new vehicle supply came back, there was a massive reduction in used vehicle costs. And that hit us pretty hard in September of 2023. We had an inventory of about 50 or 60 units. And suddenly it felt like overnight, everything lost about 25% of its value and sent us into about a 6-month battle of trying to get rid of that inventory and trying to pull ourselves out of that. But, it was during that really tough time that we really just dialed in on our accounting and just completely leaned up our business as much as we could and got rid of all unnecessary expenses. So, after going through all of that, this tariff stuff causes a lot of uncertainty, seems a little bit worrying. But after being through the rest of it, I feel like, hey, we're going to get through this just fine as well.
I love that answer. Struggle creates strength is
Yeah.
what I like to say. And it's like, you've been through stuff like this before. And, it's interesting that you said potentially exports will increase to the U.S. And I have, we talked about one of our customers the other day on a call, Aaron, that he had a decently sized export arm to his dealership, and he's going to close probably all of it down. That's his hypothesis. And then there's other dealers in our network that are saying, oh, we're going to ramp up because they're going to need more vehicles because they're not importing as much new or whatnot or vehicle prices. And so, there's some dealers that told me tariffs just make everybody better. You got to play smarter. You got to lean up, just think differently. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah.
It really will be. Who knows what's going to happen, but either way, we're going to keep working away here and we'll make it work. I'm hoping there's not going to be a massive used vehicle shortage. I think the other thing people are saying is after 2 or 3 years of that huge new vehicle shortage, that naturally there is going to be a gap in used vehicles for a couple of years. And if you combine that with, more exports going down to the States, that could create inflated vehicle prices here again. But, the truth is there's millions of vehicles in Canada, and sometimes you just have to get creative in how you're getting them.
Yeah. Stellantis feels that pretty well too. All those new vehicles sitting there. It's not just Stellantis. There's several, but they're definitely one of the main contenders for overstock. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to the prices. On a personal note, you ride bikes, right? What does Aaron do outside of the dealership world? What are your passions?
Yeah, so I've got a daughter. She's 4.5, so I spend a lot of time doing Lego and hitting the playgrounds and hitting the swimming pool. A lot of family time, and then I do have a motorcycle. I got a nice Harley that I just learned to ride motorcycle last year. So, once every couple of weeks I get to get out for an hour and just go for a ride, which I find clears my head and it's enjoyable. And then I try to stay active with different things. Going to the gym, jiu-jitsu. Looking forward to getting into boxing this spring. Just different things to try to stay fit as I get older. Like I say, I'm turning 40 in September. And as you get older, the body seems tighter. So the more little activities you can try, the looser it keeps things.
For sure. I never knew you were into BJJ. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. I started that a couple years ago. It's been fun.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I haven't taken the dive yet, just for the sake of time. I've just been trying to balance other things, but it's definitely something that is interesting, and it's a lot of business and mindset lessons you can take out of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've always found it's a really good cardio exercise. You get exhausted pretty quick wrestling around with guys. It's great for flexibility, and it's just something I think that keeps your mind learning as well, trying to learn all the new techniques and stuff that they're teaching you. So I'm a white belt. I'm a complete novice. I go once in a blue moon, but it's just something that I just try to stay active as much as I can with different things.
Yeah, very cool. Something that I'm always interested in is hearing executives in any industry, like what their daily routines are and how they stay focused. What does that look like for you? Like your weekdays, like how are they structured? Do you time block? Do you wake up at 3 a.m. and get a workout? Like what's your thing?
Yeah, I'm a bit of an early riser. I mean, I'm not a crazy early riser, but we usually wake up around 5:36. I spend the morning with my wife and our daughter, and I try to really just make that family time. Um, you know, she right now is just big into playing toys, so every morning it's like, "Hey, Dad, do you want to play?" And it's just those mornings. It's like, "Yes, I do. This is my time to play with you or watch cartoons or whatever you want to do." And then our office opens at 9. I will typically arrive at 9, sometimes a little bit earlier, but I just put in my work day. I'm here from 9 till 5 typically. And yeah, I think calendars are a big thing that I've adopted over the last couple of years, it seems like. There's just a lot more Zoom meetings and different meetings that you have to do nowadays. So those calendars have become pretty essential. I never used a calendar before 3 years ago, but
Oh wow, okay.
yeah, at this point, I could not get by without it because there's just so many different engagements that I'm making throughout the weeks. So, yeah, and then besides that, I'm just big on tracking and spreadsheets. So I spend a good amount of my time managing the business through spreadsheets, looking at different stats that we keep track of, which allows me to really, without getting in and overstepping and micromanaging, allows me to see what's going on. And if I see an opportunity, then I can, set up a meeting to speak with whoever's in charge of that and talk about it.
Very cool. Weird question, but do you use spreadsheets for your personal life at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, I love it.
I love Google Sheets. The year before before I started Pacific Nations, I took some business classes at nighttime, and one of them was an Excel course. And I was like, Excel? What? I know how to use Excel. You just tap numbers into the box. But I learned so much in that course. And I was like, wow, this is an incredibly valuable tool. And then I got into Google Sheets after that, and I am a Google Sheets freak. Absolutely love them. So yeah, I use them for blocking out diets, workout routines, and then work stuff as well. So
I love it. Yeah, I love the organization. There's this thing, I'll share it with you. I think it's interesting. I've been doing this for the last year or so. It's called 7 Pillars of Life is what I call it. So every Sunday I'll go through my spreadsheet. I do it on a tablet now, and I'll rank my life of where I'm at, whether it's finances, relationships, the business, my health, on a score of 1 to 10. And then I'll score that up, and my lowest 2 scores, I'll have an action item that I need to complete that week to increase that score. So cool. I can relate to the spreadsheet thing. I'm all into it. So yeah, it's something that I learned from Dan Martell. So it was.
You should share that with me. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I've got a whole. It's gonna sound crazy. I got a whole SOP built for it of how to do it because I've had to send it to other people and they've asked for it. So I'll send you the system.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I love stuff like that. And nowadays there's just so much of that stuff floating around. I've got an Instagram page that I've sort of dedicated to just being my motivation well. And cool. So I watch cool motivational videos on there and stuff. And the algorithm feeds me constant motivation videos, but there's always stuff like that on there, or these different routines people are doing. And there's so many different health routines out there now with fasting and cold plunging and all the different stuff that's coming out. So I just find it's a pretty cool time for health and for really mental expansion. Everyone's just always reinforcing that anything's possible. And I just can't watch enough of those videos, and it just always fires me up.
There's some people doing some crazy things in terms of productivity and health. I follow a guy who he has a sauna in his office, and every hour on the hour, he'll jump in the sauna for 5 minutes. It's always blazing hot, and then he'll jump in the cold plunge, and then he'll be back. Working really? every hour. And he said his productivity has skyrocketed.
Really?
Yeah. He's just in this flow state all the time.
That is awesome. Well, I got to invest in that. That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, I'll have a cold plunge next time I chat with you and behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Incredible. Well, hey, Aaron, this was a great conversation. It was cool to not just hear the business stuff, but chat a little bit on the personal side. What advice do you have to people that want to follow your steps in the industry or even just get into sales and start kicking ass and selling metal? What advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, from a sales point of view, I would say, take care of your customers. Your customers are everything. Really embrace that five-star service and really work your customer database. You never want to be that salesman that's just waiting for the next sales call or the next person to walk in the front door. You want to constantly working your own database and expanding that database. And then, as you work your way through the business, I think what I've learned is don't be afraid to go after what you want. When I first approached Carl and asked him, hey, do you want to go into business together? I think that was one of the biggest moments of fear I have had in my entire life, because it almost felt like I was betraying him in a way. Like by leaving Steve Marshall Ford and saying, hey, I want to branch out and do my own thing, I wasn't sure how he's going to react to that. And so I had probably a couple of weeks of anxiety about that. And then when I finally asked him, he was like, oh man, that's a great idea. I'd love to do that. Okay, what can I do to help you? And it was just the easiest way it could have possibly gone. And I find the more that you just go after what you want and tell people what you want, you'd be shocked how many people are just there to support you, right? So that's the biggest thing that I would say. If you're a salesman and you want to be a finance manager, make it known. If you're not constantly talking about it, people will think you're just happy being a salesperson. If you're a sales manager and you want to be an owner, start talking about it. Let people know, because the more you talk about it, the more people are going to find ways to support you. Because believe it or not, people are actively trying to find business partners. They're actively trying to find every position above you that you think is way outside of your reach. There's a shortage of those people, and looking to hire those people. As soon as they see a guy put their hand up, they're like, well, he wants to do it. Even if I got to train him, at least he wants to do it. So just make it known what you want to do.
I love that answer. It's very unique. And I think people need to just voice what they want in life more. So that's awesome. It carries into the business as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. Aaron, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy man. Always great to connect with you. And thanks for everybody for listening.
Thanks, Brad.